Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some snack habits. Bye up. Bye up. Let's get straight to the intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. I appreciate the support, right? So what happens when Cellies don't like each other? I'm gonna tell you what happens. Bad things, right? And just the other day in Kern Valley State Prison in California, you had two inmates who were celled up together, and one of them didn't make it out alive. Now, there's a lot of people creating content based off of what happened, and a lot of them are using words like sur and sureño and southsider. And who's to say that either one of these guys were sureños? Just because they're from Southern California doesn't mean that they carry that label or that title, right? I have to consistently and continuously run people down on that word sureño. Not everyone fits that mold. Not everyone is a sureño just because they're from Southern California, right? That's why it's hilarious to me when I see guys running around, oh, I'm a sureño. I've never been locked up. I've never put in no work, but this is what I claim. Well, you're going to have to, carrying that label, man, you're going to have to do a lot of proving yourself when you get incarcerated, because gangbanging and incarceration goes hand in hand, and watch what happens. I promise you, right? And I'm from up north, but I understand enough to know enough about, I understand a little bit about a lot of it, right? And what I understand is that not everyone is a sureño, just like not everyone is a norteño, right? There's differences. But anyways, one guy kills the other in his cell, allegedly. And officers responded, found one guy dead, and the other one they found, I guess, in possession of two weapons. That's the word on the curb. And so now he's going to be placed in ADSEG. He's going to fight this case. And, you know, these guys were cellies. You know, it's a dangerous situation when you're celled up with the wrong person. You know, when you're living in prison amongst someone else, you know, you guys either become close, almost to the point of brothers, right? Because you guys share that small area. You guys are sharing food. You guys are sharing that small area, that same latrine, toilet, that bed space. You're smelling his farts, okay? And he's smelling yours all day. So this, in doing so, you want to be celled up with someone that you can get along with, someone that, you know, you guys have a good rapport, someone who, you know, sees things the way you see it. You guys are in the same book and on the same page. That's the best cellies. You know, cellies that you can bullshit with, tell your stories to, because you're going to get letters from your family. They're going to deal with you through your ups and downs. Some days you're not going to have good days. Some days you're not going to have bad days. And what happens is you learn your cellie. See, I've had a lot of different cellies being incarcerated as a youth all the way to an adult. I had to learn my cellies. They had to learn me. They had to learn the quirks. They had to learn what I was thinking, when I was thinking it. And if you have a good cellie, a good homie that you're settled with, eventually you guys can finish each other's thoughts. It becomes that cool. But the worst thing ever to have is a cellie that you don't like, okay? Because what starts to happen, it could start out as, you know, everyone you give them the benefit of the doubt. You're supposed to. Especially if they're from your own group. You know, if it's a norteño and a norteño, or Southsider and a Southsider, of course they're going to give each other the benefit of the doubt. They function, you know, side by side. They have the same belief system. They should. They're fighting for the same cause. They're under the same rules of engagement. They're under the same fucking politics. So they're going to, you know, develop this friendship just based off of that, having a common understanding of their goals and what they're trying to achieve on that yard, right? But what can happen over time is certain things could start to irritate you about a person. The way they laugh, the way they sneeze, the way they cough. And what starts to happen is when you develop this, I guess it's an inside hatred for your cellie, it's one of the worst things imaginable, because there's nowhere to go. And especially if you're involved in a gang or a group while in prison, you can't request for a cell change without speaking to higher ups. You can't kick them out of your cell. That's considering bullying, and you can, you know, get removed from the yard for that. You can't say, hey, I need to go, or you need to go, that's a mental breakdown. That's also considered an act of traitors, a cowardice. There's a lot of different things that has to go into a cell move, right? You have to tell whoever your peoples are, you know, the reason being. Now it's different if like, hey, bro, I want to go move into the homeboy cell because he's gonna do some tat work on me. My cellie's good with it, bro. He'll take whoever, or he wants to move. If you guys could figure that out amongst each other, that's cool. But when you start to hate your cellie, you don't even want to talk to them. Every little thing that they do pisses you off and irritates you. I've had a couple cellies like that. If you guys recall, I did videos a while back, a couple years ago. Disculpame. And those were like hits. People loved those videos. They were funny. They were classic. They were real, right? And I can tell you right now, not only did I hate the person that my cellie was, right? I didn't understand him. He was a super J-Cat. He was 5150, and it was very alarming to be in the cell with him. I never slept right. I wasn't comfortable around him. I didn't know what this guy was thinking. He didn't know what the fuck he was thinking, right? And all he did all day was sweat all over the place, working out all day. Disculpame, homie. Disculpame. That's all he kept saying. And I was like, disculpa the fuck out of myself, right? And I tried every avenue to mediate and to get him the fuck out of there, right? I talked to the homeboys like, hey, this dude's a cat, bro. And they were like, hey, you just got to deal with it, homie. Like, none of the other homeboys want to sell it with them. I said, fuck, it was the luck of the draw, right? And I lost the lottery that day. And so in doing so, the homies already had an understanding that I didn't care for this cellie for one reason or the other. And he wasn't doing anything wrong, right? So that placed blame on me. If something was to happen to him, being that I was a Norteño, that would be considered red on red. And it is a rule, one of the politics, that no Norteño will lay hands on another fellow Northerner, period, right? For whatever reason, unless he's being removed, and that's what has to happen. But you don't lay hands on your cellie. You don't fight with your cellie. You don't argue and loud on the tier with your cellie, because you don't want any other group to hear, you know, a chink in the armor. And that's just the way it is. And plus, you're all striving under one cause. So what does it look like? Another Norteño beating up another Northerner, or putting hands on them, or them even self-fighting? Same thing goes with the Southerners. You know, they're not allowed to fight, to bully, harass their cellie, nothing like that. So it becomes a situation with your cellie that is pretty hard living. You know, I've had good cellies where it's like, fuck, I don't even want this to end, bro. I don't care about getting out, right? We're chilling. We're in this motherfucker, hey, eating good, having a good time, clowning, telling stories, and just, hey, we just know what time it is, right? Cellies like my boy Cisco, you know, from Sunnyvale. Cellies like my boy Vico from Planet. You know what I'm saying? Certain cellies that stand out, that it was just love the whole time, just respect. And then you have cellies like fucking Disculpame and Shadow from Frank Loan, that I was just like, fuck, bro, how'd the homies from Frank Loan jump you in, you stinky motherfucker, right? And I just developed a super hatred. I mean, if this dude burped up on his top bunk, right, I said something about it. And you start to nitpick, and it starts to, once they are aware and they start to grow animosity, that's a dangerous recipe, because now what happens is you have two mad at motherfuckers that are mad at each other that can't go nowhere. And so, you know, you could tell when someone's being a little disrespectful by the way they're talking. You know, I had one cellie in Susanville, and he was probably even worse than Disculpame and even worse than Stinky Shadow, right? And the reason he was because he was an arrogant asshole, right? And he had status. And at that point in time, man, I was a young Northerner. Well, I was a Norteño, but at the same time, I was still young and striving, you know, and it didn't quite work out for me. But he was a little bit older than me. He had been in High Desert. He came from High Desert out there to Lassen Yard to Susanville. So, you know, the luck of the draw, this is the cell they put me into. And I remember first getting in there, and we showed each other our paperwork. We cleared each other basically. And, you know, I knew that he was one of the homeboys that was not in charge, but was very well respected within that prison, right? Now, mind you, we all got out of the way at the same time and went to these different buildings. We were on a overflow kickout, right? And so, and this yard had just flipped to active Norteños. So we were still trying to figure out the yard, figure out our area, figure out things like that. And then you have to figure out your cellie, because everyone was just thrown in with who they were thrown in with. This was a homeboy from Sacra. His name was Boxer from Sacra, right? Not the black boxer that everyone sees on TikTok, but a different one. Bestia. That was his TN Beast. And Right when they sold us up, I already knew it was going to be an issue. I just knew he was a big swole motherfucker, right? This motherfucker wanted to work out like an animal. I was up to par, but not that up to par, right? I was like Yance up to par. Like I could sit up, but I can't get up, right? And so I'm cold blooded on. But anyways, we'd work out. This motherfucker would break me, right? And that was cool. That was striving. That was like that was beneficial to me and to the cause because he was only trying to get me to where the point where he was at. But I mean, it was this motherfucker was big, swole motherfucker. Like it was hard to catch up, but I was trying. But his arrogance and the way he talked, and you need to understand. So I've always been in. Look, call it what you want. You can call me broke dick or you fucking bum or whatever you want to call me. But I never relied on my family to look out for me when I was in prison. They would send me a package quarterly, right? But I never asked them for feria because, um, I just never did. I just never put that burden on them. Every crime that I did by myself, and I was going to do my time by myself. So I was a hustler. I would draw, tattoo, work the kitchen, sell food, whatever. I hustled for my money. I got enough canteen to maintain, right? And every once in a while, if I had a chick on the line or a homeboy would shoot me some feria here and there, like I was okay. I wasn't the worst, right? But I didn't have it. I wasn't balling. Like these dudes, oh, I'm balling because they got fucking 2 cases of sopas. Oh, bro, I'm balling. I got all the chips on the canteen. All right, cool. Shit. That's cool. Now I'm balling with steak and lobster. But I understand. In prison, you need that incentive. So this dude was one of those guys that he had his family taking care of him like clockwork, right? Boom, 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 full draw, full draw. And I was lucky to hit 30, 40, $50 a month, right? On canteen, which is cool. You can survive off that. I had all my hygiene products. Um, I was straight, I was able to contribute to the cell because usually you eat with your cellie. But this is the one Norteño, and I never put him on blast. He would eat in front of me. He would clown, be disrespectful. Like he was trying to not bully me, but like lure me into a situation. And in doing so, he started making me disillusioned to the cause, meaning I felt like he was taking advantage and being in Norteño, man, we weren't on the same page. And if this is what I had to look forward to with other homies, man, I didn't want to look forward to this, right? This wasn't canalismo. This wasn't, hey, you're my brother, because I've had cellies, man. I had a black cellie in another state when I was locked up. And when I walked into that cell, that shit was clean, immaculate. He had hella money. His dad played in the NBA. That's a fact, right? This dude had feria, and this dude was like, anything I got on the shelves, go ahead, bro. Every canteen, what do we need? Boom. Not what do I need? What do you need? What do we need for the cell? Always make sure we're up to par, man. Just a cool ass dude. And I was thinking he wasn't even my own people's. And my people's over there eating fucking honey buns in front of me, talking about, oh, it's the last one, homie. And he has 2 more boxes, right? And so I started to grow an animosity towards him. And it was probably the worst of all because this dude liked to belittle other Norteños around me. And I wasn't into the cheeseman, the talking behind people's backs. And so we'd get off the yard and he'd be like, yeah, that fucking homeboy, bro, I'll dust him in a workout or this and that. And I felt like that was just not a great thing. We're all about positivity and and pushing our movement and being all homeboys on the same page. And all this dude did was talk shit about homeboys, right? Ultimately, he ended up getting removed. I guess after what happened with me, right? So what happened was one day I just had to just be straight up with him. I was like, look, bro, this shit ain't working out, homie. You know what I'm saying? When you fart, bro, I want to grab it and throw it back in your mouth. Like you're farting out of your mouth, homie. Like and I knew he was a big dude. And I was testing the waters there like, hey, but I felt that he understood the rules, right? And he was a stickler for the rules. So it was like, hey, he can go out there and smut me up and ride a kite and tell whoever that fucking I'm talking shit, or you know what I mean? We can fight or whatever. If we fight, we're all both going to be deemed no good and whatever, or we can just kill each other around this motherfucker. At this point, I was that pissed. And he was like, hey, bro, I'm going to fucking, I want to get some tat work done by the little homeboy from Mountain View. So I'm going to try to get moved into that cell. Cool. He took the initiative to get moved because he understood that I was trying to basically like not set him up, but like, bro, if you want to fight, we can fucking fight. You might beat my ass. I don't give a shit at this point. I just want to get the fuck away from you, right? Because his sarcastic, his arrogant ways, and like I said, eating in front of me. And, I'd have 3 or 4 sopas. I'd hook a bowl up and boom, I'd give him his issue right at tortilla, a couple tortillas, fat burritos. Hey, bro, here, I got you. And, that fool would make fucking a rice bowl or whatever and be like, hey, bro, hey, there's a sopa if you want one. You know what I mean? That's cool, but come on now, you share. And, you know, I come from that Hawaiian mentality where we all ate with our hands and shared the same fork and all kinds of shit. You know, a spread, we ate with our hands and all the homeboys. And so, anyways, you can start to grow a fucking bitter animosity towards him. He eventually got moved out. I got another little young homeboy in there, man. And it was all love. It was all cool, man. We shared what we had together. He didn't have much. I didn't have much, but we made something out of it, right? That's real canalismo. And Norteño will strive for the betterment of his people, and that was the betterment of our people. Now, as far as these two guys, you know, there might have been politics involved. There could be a whole another underlying issue. Obviously, one guy wasn't seeing eye to eye with the other guy. And, you know, your cellie can be the most dangerous adversary on a yard, because once you're confined and locked into that room, you're in that room the majority of the time with them without count time, right? So the cops do 2 or 3 counts a day. But in some prisons, it's more relaxed than others. Some prisons, you have to be standing up or moving a body part, or they have to see skin to understand that you're in there breathing. They got to see your chest moving. There's a lot of prisons where you could be asleep, turn to your side, and they just walk by because the officer's not on point. He's just trying to do count and get the fuck out the way, right? And so there's been plenty of times where people have got whacked, choked out, stomped, killed in their cell, and their cellie throws them up on the bunk, throws a blanket over them, and they miss a few meals, right? Because they want the extra tray. It's happened. You know, it happens more than is exposed out there. So, you know, like I said, the worst adversary could be your cellie, because if you fall into bad standing, there's something wrong with you, and your cellie's a known killer, and he's really striving with the business, your cellie's going to be asked to fucking handle the business. Why are they going to put it out there on the yard and make it where everyone gets on lockdown or a situation escalates, when they could easily have you catch your cellie by surprise while he's sleeping? So a lot of the removals and a lot of things that are done, albeit a lot are done in the day room and on the yard during yard recall, there are a lot of killings that happen within the cell. And 9 times out of 10, when it happens in the cell, it's because it was something ordered. But there are things when cellies just don't see eye to eye, and they eventually say, fuck it, knife fight time. And I've been to that point, you know, with Stinky Shadow. I told you guys, man, I did the cold move, and I tried to have him roll it up, and he was still young in the game, and he didn't understand, you know, what it was. And I just would put out there like, hey, you're going to get to the yard and you stink so bad, motherfuckers going to be like, hey, shower, power, or they're going to remove you. And eventually he ended up getting on his own accord. And then, like I said, with Disculpame, I was in fear for fucking my sanity. I didn't know what to do. This motherfucker was sweating. Disculpame. Right? Like he was, how do you stutter saying one word? That's the only word he said. I'd be like, hey, you want a sopa or what? Disculpame. Is that yes or no? Disculpame. Fuck it. It means no then. I'll eat by myself. Right? Right? This dude was just wild. And I remember going out in the yard and him trying to walk the track with me. Get the fuck away from me. Stupid. I have to be around you. Nah. And the homies are like, oh, that's a good homie right there, man. Because he was big. He was tall, big. All he did was work out. So the homies are like, damn, motherfucker's chest is, yeah, sell up with him then. If he's the cool homeboy, you go and sell with them, and no buybacks. No get backs, motherfucker. Hey, this is for keeps, homie, like marbles. No funsies. Once you're in there with them, I give you 2 days, and you're gonna come out and anytime you hear the word disculpame, you're gonna jump. And then this motherfucker, hey, he'll jump off his bunk 4 a.m. Disculpame, homie. Disculpame. Right? I'm like, oh shit, that must mean it's almost time for breakfast. It was crazy. I couldn't translate his bullshit. Anyways, it's unfortunate someone has to lose their life because now a family, people are affected, but this is prison. You know, your cellie can be the most dangerous, and bad things happen when you're not getting along with your cellie. And that's just crazy. Anyways, with that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. This video right here is sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Turlock area, the Central Valley, the 209, pull up to the Barrio Liquors, man, and go get you something icy and something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you live in the Tucson area or the surrounding areas and you need an estimate on some yard work, make sure you hit up Sticks and Stones and say my name, Gunners Collective, and that I sent you, and you'll get a 10% discount. It's time that we support our small local raza businesses. So I want to let you guys know, man, we're going to get back to the supers on the super channel, Collective Clips. If you're not subscribed, make sure you go over there and subscribe, because we're going to get back to some major work over there. And I appreciate all the support I've been getting lately. You know, a homeboy called me yesterday. He's like, man, you've been going in on your videos. I'm just pretty blunt, man. You know, I'm tired of the bullshit shenanigans. It's time for me to just let it out there and just speak my piece. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think, man. And I'm telling you, for those that have never had to have a celly, you don't want one. This is the gun. Bang, bang.